Okay, it's day 75 of this yellow onion germination experiment. So you can see the foliage is very green now. It's a very verdant dark green. It's said that the leaves here are thin and hollow. So I haven't tested that yet. I don't want to damage my baby here and just kind of break a leaf in half or cut it in half just to see. Although I might do that at a later point just for a demonstration, but there was a little bit of greenness here. Not sure if that's mold or algae. Probably algae, but no doubt when I was soaking these in fungicide mixed water, some of that water got in between the onion layers. So as you can see here, there's a nice beading of water. Water vapor has condensed on the top of the container on the inside. So what happened yesterday is I lifted these bulbs up and I noticed a lot of mold, and what I decided to do was to spray the root systems of both bulbs with a lot of that decanol fungicide. Okay, so I'm going to lift this up, take a look. So look at all that mold. It's pretty devastating. I basically sprayed thick jets of decanol all over, and you can still see a lot of it here. And some of the water will get absorbed by these roots, but largely counting on it to kill this mold problem before I lose my bulbs. And I'm pretty sure even if I had this in dirt, the same thing would happen. So there's a lot of residual decanol. I might just keep spraying more. I'm not sure that wiping away with tissues will do anything, because once you wipe away, what you see here are the fruiting bodies of these various kinds of fungi. So if you wipe that away, it'll just sprout again, in my past experience. So here's the top of the second bulb, and my germination method is working. It's receiving signals that it has plenty of moisture or water available from the root system, and the shoot system is responding accordingly. So I expect this to bust open over the next few days, or even within the next day, and have a very robust and healthy shoot system. However, this one has the same problem on the other side. So I sprayed some decanol as a preemptive measure to prevent against mold. You can also see a little bit of molding, but it's not as advanced as in the bulb that germinated first. So I just left a lot of decanol. You can still see some here, and it'll get diluted by the water. I don't think this harms the plant at all. So it's all over the roots here, or these dead onion peels. And basically this is a lot more roots than I saw before. Before there was maybe one sticking a few millimeters out. Now it seems like the root system is flourishing. So this bulb is definitely on its way to germination. So there you have it. This closed system is very effective. It's not quite the same as the garden and bottle concept, but you can see here the streaks. I witnessed one of these where a few of these droplets on top coalesce together and basically form a big drop that ran to the bottom. So I imagine that happens at the roots as well, although not as much because they absorb a lot of the water. But it's essentially a system that generates water vapor, 100% humidity, and rain essentially inside a bottle. And there's a little bit of there's a few cracks in this saran wrap for both of these bottles, and that allows for plenty of air to get in. So here's a close-up of these yellow onion leaves. Okay, it's day 76 of this yellow onion germination experiment. So this one will be plant 1 and this will be bulb number 2. So the development is much more advanced in bulb 1 because it was the first one to germinate in the fridge. And this bulb seems to have airspace now, but it's still solid underneath, so I don't know what that is all about. It could just be something very normal in the process. It's sucking water and nutrients out of this bulb, so it could get smaller as time goes on. So the mold situation's improved since yesterday. It still looks pretty bad, but at least it's not getting worse. And this just turned into a tan web of goo. It's just a concentrate of that decanol. So yeah, pretty nasty stuff. But it was already like this when I took it out of the fridge, so there's not much I can do. I can't really do like any kind of clean amputation of any part to get rid of all this. So I'll just keep applying fungicide if it gets worse or doesn't go away, and hope it gets better. Here's another close-up look of the shoot system in bulb number 1. And here's a macro shot of the shoot system of bulb number 2. Here's another angle. So the development is quite fast compared to some other plants. Because the bulb is so large, it has a lot of nutrients, sort of like a plant battery to fuel the growth of these new plants, or I think this might just be one plant. Unlike the case of the rhizome cuttings of ginger or sweet potato tuber, where one tuber or rhizome cutting seems to generate multiple plants, although I'm not quite sure if that's necessarily the case in the sweet potato. And this is the root system of bulb number 2. It's fast developing, and it's easier to see from this lateral view, but these roots are a lot longer than they were just 24 or 48 hours ago. And this one is relatively free of the mold problem. I applied some decanol to this as well because I was afraid it would just kind of mold over. This very bottom root here in the center of the screen, that's covered in mold too. So I'll keep an eye out and apply more fungicide if necessary. Okay, it's day 78 of this yellow onion germination experiment. So I'm going to try a different approach. I'm assuming the mold still hasn't been killed. I haven't looked in 2 days, but this is a bottle of hydrogen peroxide. It's basically 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to 2 oxygen atoms, but it's a very volatile reactive compound, so I'm hoping this can work as a general antiseptic and help kill the fungi that's plaguing the roots of my yellow onion bulbs. So in order to do that, I have safety glasses and gloves. So I'm going to go get those bulbs right now. Okay, so here we have the container of bulb number 1. Its foliage has grown quite long. I'd say this is, I don't know, close to 20 centimeters, almost. And if we look under here, no, that's actually not bad. It's moldy, but it hasn't progressed at least. And this one actually doesn't smell too bad either. It doesn't really smell. It's the other one. Let me see. Ugh. Well, let me try smelling the first one again. The first one smells not pleasant, but it's not horrible. The second one, you can see this progression from compared to 2 days ago. The foliage is about 4 centimeters long, and it's nice and lush. But yeah, it smells sort of like an onion fart in there, if you will. That's just my way to describe it. I don't really know or think people fart any differently if they eat a lot of onions. So I'm gonna rinse things out and apply some hydrogen peroxide after I do a lot of wiping to get rid of all the excess mold. And I'm gonna have an extra clean trash bag right nearby so I can throw away stuff right away and basically wrap it up and isolate the mold so I don't have to smell that kind of nasty stuff around the house. So let's see. Okay, I can remove this plastic wrap. There's always plenty of that. And basically I'll try washing this really well. That'll dissolve any of that decanol fungicide in that red spray bottle that I had. You know, that's basically squirts out the white goo. Let's see. You can wash sort of the top too. Make sure I get this whole bulb clean. There's a little bit of airspace as I described in my last update. It's not that easy to wipe that stuff off. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. But you know, it came like this out of the refrigerator, so it's not due to anything I did. It's just the mold took advantage and started rotting stuff away. So there's some rotten parts to that. Yeah, I think this first layer here is just rotted away to an extent. So I'm not sure how much I can really do here. I mean, the parts that are rotted are basically rubbing off. Throw that away. That's completely disgusting. If I peel it, that might help alleviate some of the problem just by removing all the moldy sections, because I think if I just spray that with hydrogen peroxide, you know, it's like zombie flesh. It's nasty. So as long as I pulled away a root that was connected to some of that nasty stuff. You know, if I leave something, it'll be okay in my estimation, even though I'm losing some roots here. You know, this is sort of like surgery. I'm just, well, removing a bunch of necrotic tissue. It's kind of disgusting. But yeah, if I just started pouring hydrogen peroxide on everything, it's not going to get in that deep, and it's basically not going to do anything. So I think this makes sense. Even though I'm kind of getting some mold in there, probably just by mixing this, you know, virgin tissue inside with coming into contact with some of these slimy, molded over parts. Some of these roots are sort of like deadish too. Just remove that. I mean, what can you really do in this situation? There's so much rot. No, but the shoot system looks really healthy. There's just a little bit of dead stuff on top. That's harmless. I guess I could just take away this whole outer layer. Hardly matters at this point. So, you know, it's just, of course I don't want to take away all the layers, but you know, anything to enable this whole system to ventilate better is good. Okay, so we've lost a lot of mass here. It's unfortunate, but I feel like I had to do that. And this water is a little bit milky because of the decanol in it, but there's nothing gross going on. There's no fungi or algae or anything like that, and the outside and the inside are clean. Wow, well, this sink has serious problems dealing with a container this big, so I can go to the kitchen sink and rinse this out better. But you know, the outside of the container is clean, and let's see, we can rest this, we can kind of wipe it a little bit. I'm doing my best here to try to save this onion, because that was a really bad case of rot down there. But you know, this looks way better. Okay, so this is what the bottom, the root system, looks like after all that rinsing and washing. And it looks a lot cleaner than it did before. I'm not going to go ahead and say healthier, but you know, it looks like I took a huge bite by peeling away all the rotten areas. But I basically had to do that. All the tissue underneath seems just golden yellow and really healthy. And these remaining roots are also healthy as well. I might get rid of those because they look like they're rotting. Alright, so I'm gonna get this bottle of hydrogen peroxide. It's really cheap. It was like 89 cents for, let's see, almost a liter. It's extremely cheap. You know, it's one of those things where you wonder how can they even sell it for that cheap. But shoot, well, I need to get this foil off and stuff. Well, maybe I don't. Anyway, here goes. Now I know I'm kind of using it in a wasteful way, but wow. You can already see this reacting. You can already see this reacting with the hydrogen peroxide. It's kind of just fizzing and eating away at stuff. But you know, it's not going to kill the plant, it's just going to kill the microbes, and within a few minutes everything will be okay. I think I can get rid of these. No, those roots look fine. Some of these root tips are brown, you know, it's probably because they're just not healthy because of all the mold. Yeah, let's just try some more. I mean, this stuff is cheap. I can go get a lot more at any time from any big box store. Like I got this in Target. And you know, the only reason I'm wearing safety glasses and whatnot is because I don't want such a reactive substance to splash in my eyes while I'm working with it. Although my head is pretty far away, so you know, this will break down by itself within a few minutes, if not already, and I basically don't really have anything to worry about. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this back on top of the bottle, and we'll see onion number 2. So the roots here are quite healthy. I sprayed a lot of decanol. Don't really notice anything. There's like no decanol mixed with moldy, rotting goo. Let me get rid of this. But you know, this just smells bad. Well, there's some mold over here too. So, you know, that's always a problem. I'll just start rinsing. You know, I'm touching these parts and nothing is soft or gooey, but there's still some mold. The root tips look pretty healthy. I don't think I have to, you know, amputate any of those, so to speak, with my finger. So I'm just going to go ahead and You get rid of this dead layer to remove hiding space from the mold. See, it is a little mushy at that very tip near the roots. And there's like a little bit of blackness here. That's some kind of mold also. See, yeah, this has some rot. It's all mushy and kind of disintegrates into goo when I touch it. It's kind of a wonder how onions function and grow, because they're just a series of concentric identical layers like that. Okay, so there's a lot of healthy roots, and I'm not gonna rip out anything more. I think I've removed most of that dead tissue. So, you know, this is my first time growing onions. I have no idea what's going on, but these have been sitting in the refrigerator for 2 months, and they basically germinated. So let's see, what else can I do? Well, I think it's about time. I'm gonna start pouring some hydrogen peroxide over this mess.